Ma'am.
I have Mr. Ramirez Jacob just walked in. Page number 5, the last one on the page.
What?
1149.
No, there is no vote.
Bottom of page 5, Judge.
Page 5.
Yes, sir. Jacob Ramirez.
There he is.
Okay, sir, I finished the docket, the email that I had received.
Mr. Ramirez, you were supposed to be here at 9 o'clock. It is now 10:54. Where have you been?
Looking for a parking lot.
I'm sorry, what?
Looking for a parking lot.
You've been looking for a parking lot for 2 hours.
Not really, but it's I don't know how to drive here in the center, in the city. Sorry.
Have you been able to hire an attorney?
Mm, what is it?
Have you been able to hire an attorney?
Judge, he can barely understand English. He prefers Spanish.
¿Tienes la habilidad de emplear un abogado?
No realmente.
Bueno, Ms. Castillo,
Yes, sir.
please give him the applications
Yes, I will.
and help him out since he may not read and write English.
Okay, I'll give him the application.
Señor Ramírez, ¿usted es ciudadano o no?
No.
¿Y qué haces para trabajo, para mantenerte?
Construcción.
¿Cómo?
Construcción.
Ajá. La oficial ahí, Telma Castillo, te va a ayudar con una aplicación. Si calificas, te daremos un abogado. Si no calificas, tienes que emplear uno.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Cifuentes. Did
Yes,
you
sir.
finish everything?
I'm sorry?
Did you finish everything?
Yes, sir, I did.
Ms. Garcia, we all set on Cifuentes with Mr. Barra?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Kayleen, at this time, the court calls case number 668-439, State versus Angel Ezequiel Cifuentes. The charge is DWI. Mr. Cifuentes, would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that in this proceeding, the information and responses you submit will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. Mr. Cifuentes, I am informed that you intend to submit a plea based on a plea agreement you made with the state. Before we do that, Ms. Kayleen Rivera, my court reporter, is taking down and making a record of this discussion, verbal discussion I'm having with you, which includes the discussion about constitutional rights and protections. First one being the right to remain silent. You have the right to remain silent, which means you do not have to make any kind of statement. You don't have to answer any questions. You don't have to submit written paperwork that has your signature in this proceeding, especially papers that admit or confess to wrongdoing. Do you understand you have the right to remain silent?
Yes, sir, I do.
There's a very important right, a right to a jury trial, wherein you and your attorney and the state would select 6 people from a jury panel of disinterested citizens who would hear all the evidence, testimony, etc., the whole trial, and decide whether you are not guilty or whether you've been found guilty, proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. You understand you have the right to a jury trial.
Yes, sir, I do.
If you go to a jury trial, the state will be required to present witnesses to prove their case or attempt to prove their case. That matter is requires that, or it can be that you and your attorney would have the right to question, cross-examine, or challenge any witness who would testify. That's called the right to confront witnesses. Do you understand you have that right?
Yes, sir.
Furthermore, you have the right to appeal. In that right, you yourself or your attorney himself or the two of you together would have the right to demand that a higher court review the official record in this matter, all the evidence and testimony, for whatever legal challenge you wanted to make. If in fact you decided to appeal, you'd have to follow some very careful rules and requirements, including time limitations, rules on form and substance of the written documents that you would use. You understand you have the right to appeal.
Yes, sir.
Furthermore, you have the right to demand that this proceeding be held in open public courtroom. The state also has the same right. That right means that you can demand to stop this proceeding and go into the public courtroom when it is available. Right now, we're not doing that because of the COVID pandemic. And instead, we're doing this by video conference. But to do that, you and the state must consent to that video conference proceeding. You understand you have that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. It is my understanding then that you wish to proceed with the plea in this matter. So I will discuss with you some of the documents that you have reviewed. Did you review the documents that are part of this record? Did you review them with your attorney and get his advice?
Yes, sir.
Among those documents is included a document that says consent to video conference. It identifies you on the document and then it asks you to sign that you are consenting to this video conference. Did you in fact review that and sign it?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you notice that the state signed one also, the prosecutors?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Parra, did you in fact, for the record, review and assist Mr. Cifuentes in reviewing the documents that he has signed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you believe that the documents that bear his signature, that he understood what he was signing?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Mr. Parra, did you yourself sign a document that attests that the state has complied with Article 39.14 Texas Code of Criminal Procedure in reference to discovery?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Cifuentes, a very important document that you have signed is titled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions. This document identifies you, and then it says what you're charged with, how you're going to plead in the matter. It reminds you what the range of punishment is for what you're going to plead on. It also has 15 numbered parts or paragraphs that inform you and remind you of some very important rights and protections, including what the range of punishment is for this offense, the offense you're pleading on, your right to jury trial, right to confront witnesses, all the different rights that we've talked about, but these are now reminding you in writing. A separate thing that it also tells you is that the deal that you have made with the state is not binding on this court. The judge has the right to, or rather the authority and responsibility to say yes or no to the deal that you make. I have to do that, one or the other. In addition, I have the authority to give you any punishment within the proper range of punishment for the offense on which you plead. But if I give you a greater punishment than you agreed to, but within the range, or if I reject your plea agreement, in either case, the law would allow you to start all over and nothing that you said or signed up till now would be used against you. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Did you understand this document that I'm talking to you about? And did you sign it?
Yes, sir, I did. And I do.
Now, in addition, what type of plea is this going to be, state?
Judge, I believe it's a no contest plea.
All right, and is it going to be on DWI first or something else?
Judge, it's on an obstruction. We're moving to waive and abandon count 1 and proceed solely on count 2.
On that motion, defense, any objection?
No objection from the defense.
All right, there being no objection, then the motion to reduce or to proceed on count 2, which is obstruction of a passageway, waterway, or highway, the court grants the motion. And Mr. Cifuentes, for the record, you're no longer charged with DWI, you're now charged with obstruction of a highway. That has a punishment range of a fine from $0 all the way to $2,000 and jail from 0 days to 180 days. You understand that, Mr. Cifuentes?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, Mr. Cifuentes, is this going to be a deferred or straight probation, folks?
Judge, it's a deferred.
All right. Mr. Cifuentes, you're getting
Yes, sir.
a very beneficial deal. And what
I
I'm
understand
saying
that,
is,
sir.
what I'm saying to you is that the agreement for deferred means that even though you're going to plead no contest, which is considered a guilty plea by this court, I will not find you guilty. Instead, I will place you on deferred adjudication, or postponed adjudication is another way to say it. If you live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision, and I repeat that, 100% of the conditions of supervision, then in that instance, the case will be dismissed. And
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I fully intend to.
well, you better. This is what I'm trying to
Yes,
say to
sir.
you.
Thank you.
As long as you live up to everything. then the case gets dismissed and you're not convicted of obstruction even. Should you fail or refuse to comply and do 100% as you are required to and as you are agreeing to, then what happens is the state may ask me to give you official notice, bring you in for a hearing. And if I'm satisfied that the evidence is sufficient to do so, then I will enter a finding of guilt, a final conviction, which will follow you the rest of your life.
Yes, sir.
Plus, if that happens, you're looking at the entire range of punishment, $0 to $2,000 fine and jail 0 to 180 days in jail. Is that clear?
Yes, sir, it is.
Did you know and understand what you were doing when you signed the application for deferred adjudication?
Yes, sir.
How do you make a living, sir?
I work construction with a self-contractor, sir.
What do you earn monthly?
Monthly I earn about 2,300.
Do you have any children you support?
No, sir. I live with my mother.
Does she work outside the house?
No, sir, I pay bills.
Do what?
I pay the bills.
So you're supporting your mom.
Yes, sir.
Is she disabled or anything?
No, sir.
All right. Then officially to the charge of obstruction of a passageway, highway or waterway, how do you plead, sir?
No contest.
All right. State, tell me what the agreement is.
Judge, the agreement in this case is a $500 fine plus court costs, 12 months deferred adjudication, DWI education, victim impact panel live, the TAP evaluation, ignition interlock for half the term, and 48 community service hours.
Excuse me, Judge. I don't have a vehicle myself.
Does your mother have a vehicle?
Yes, sir, she does.
That's probably the way you get around, don't you?
No, she drives me.
Do you have a valid driver's license?
No, sir, I do not.
All right. I accept your plea of no contest. I find there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty, but I do not. Instead, I'm granting you 12 months deferred adjudication. You are fined $500 plus court costs. You are to, in good faith, enroll in and complete the DWI education program. You're to complete the victim impact panel live. You are to submit to a TAP evaluation. And recommendations, whatever they might be. You're to have ignition interlock, but instead of ignition interlock, in lieu of ignition interlock, you will have the portable monitor. Instead of 12 months, you have it for 8 months.
Okay.
You have 48 hours community service restitution to perform.
Yes, sir.
You are not to drive any vehicle whatsoever since you do not have a valid driver license.
Yes, sir.
During the entirety of the 12 months that you're on deferred adjudication, you're not to drink any alcohol at all. Certainly,
sir.
you cannot and should not and must not have any illegal drugs.
Yes, sir.
Your supervisory fee will be $29 a month.
How much?
$29 a month.
Okay.
The bare minimum is 25, but since you're taking care of your mom, I'll make it 29 instead of the more money because
Okay.
you're not doing too shabby by yourself, but since you're supporting your mom, I'll give you a little bit of a break.
I appreciate it, sir.
Questions,
And
Mr.
I had a
Fuentes?
Yes, I
Questions?
have a question. What is a mobile monitor?
It's a portable monitor that you'll have to blow into.
Okay.
The probation department will inform you of what, where, when, and how, and why, and how.
Yes, sir.
You're to appear within 7 days in the offices of County Court at Law Number 5, at which time your thumbprint will be placed on the documents, official documents as required by law.
Yes, sir.
Also, do not leave this hearing until you have met with Ms. Maricela Luna. She's what's called a CLO, a court liaison officer. She will start you off on the path to probation. At probation, by the way, they will read to you all the conditions that you got to live by here, and you will sign them, and they will put a copy in your hands. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any further questions?
No, sir.
Judge Longoria, if I may, I wanted to request from the court the possibility to have donations in lieu of these community service hours, the possibility for that. And in regards to the 48 hours, if we could get credit for Mr. Cifuentes having his COVID vaccine.
I will not do that.
Thank you,
I'm
Judge.
glad that he had enough common sense to do it, but I'm not doing that as part of the punishment.
And in regards to the donation,
The donation in lieu of CSR hours, I will authorize. I'll do that at $10 an hour for any and all hours he chooses to do. I prefer that he make that donation to the Gabriel Project, but he has a choice. He can do that. He can make his donation to Gabriel, or he can do it to San Antonio Food Bank.
thank you, Judge.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions, Mr. Parra?
No, Judge.
Thank you then. Go to the meeting with